Matt, good afternoon to everybody. Just start, talking about setbacks a little bit. Just a couple of words about that. Obviously, everybody in Kenneck on Saturday witnessed us experiencing one of those. And I know a lot of people are disappointed, certainly our fans, but I can assure you nobody more disappointed than the people directly involved, especially our players. They invest an awful lot. So just needless to say, anytime you experience a setback, it's painful. One thing for sure, and I always share with the team, you don't get second chances, you don't get games back. So it's part of the deal. And I think the other big takeaway for us is just that, it's one game and we still have 10 opportunities in front of us. So that's a big takeaway there. Unfortunately, setbacks are part of every season. It's not always in the form of a loss, but always you have challenges. And that's, one of the axioms of going into a season. Just understand there are going to be things that happen that aren't planned, maybe not wanted, and how you deal with those is really what is important. And that's kind of where our focus is. That's what we do on Sundays. Learn from what took place, and then begin working through it. And the biggest thing is just how you choose to respond, and it's been that way forever in sports. So that's a big takeaway there. That was the message post game. It was the message Sunday, and it's quiet here Sunday, and business like all that type of thing. But win, lose, or draw, there's always learning opportunities. I think that's the most important thing that gets done. So I think that got done, and then. Just specifically, I really don't feel a lot different than I did after the ball game. The major takeaways, we had good field position, one off a turnover, one off a really good drive, ball down inside the 5, and didn't come out with a touchdown in either case. So those were certainly big factors in the ball game, the outcome. And then in 3 of their scoring drives, we have 4 big plays. And I think you've heard me say before. Defensively, it kind of starts with that. You want to make people work. You want to make them earn what they get, and those 4 plays really, I think, altered the course of the game. So, that was a takeaway on Sunday, and then we moved forward yesterday and began working on Troy. And a couple words about them. They're out of the Sun Belt Conference, 11-win team last year. Had a really good football team, and now they're a little bit of a team in transition, if you will. They've got a new coaching staff. The previous staff has moved on, and a lot of new players too. And so it's kind of unique, that we've played 2 straight games now where both staffs were very established. The programs were established, knew for the most part who the players were and what their tendencies were going to be. All right, now we're piecing those things together a little bit and just trying to figure out what to expect, what to match up against, and then secondly, you always have to project a little bit because they're in the middle of installing new systems. So I'm not sure what their players are capable of taking or not taking. So what kind of changes we'll see from the first 2 games. It's part of the game that goes on. But the bottom line is this: if we're going to match up against them, we've got to be sound and got to be flexible, not knowing exactly what's going to happen. So that's every week. That's the first challenge, is matching up against your opponent. And then the bigger challenge is working to improve and working the deficiency areas that we identify. So really no different than any other week that way. Captains this week are the same 4 guys. Got Jay Higgins, Quinn Schulte on defense, Luke and Cade McNamara on the offensive side of the ball. Then lastly, just tell you a little bit about our kid captain, Maya Gilchrist from Center Point. Will be with us on Saturday. When she was really young, just an infant, she was diagnosed with a tumor on her brain stem, 18-month-old at that point, and was treated at Stead Family Hospital. And unfortunately, the cancer reappeared at age 5 and then again at age 12, treated again, and then was doing really well. About a year ago, she was tired, kind of sluggish, and they discovered she had a rare form of blood cancer. So she's had a lot of battles and doing really well right now. She's an 18-year-old who's doing very, very well, and it'd be really great to have her with us. Obviously, she really epitomizes how to handle setbacks, if anything else. So we'll be excited to have her join us, and I'll throw it out for questions.
Start with Chad, Scott. Hey, Chad, nice to go to Des Moines Register. I don't know if you've thought about this, but the game the other day, so many analogies to the 2002 Iowa State game.
Yep.
Ran the ball great.
Yep.
Veteran team, big second half lead that melted away. Kind of some weird stuff happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, I just wonder if you kind of drew that comparison, and also like, that was a long time ago, but like,
Sure.
what did that particular team do to move on from such a disappointment in that way?
Yeah, I can even top you on that one. Coincidentally, Brad Banks was here on Sunday in the office. So he was at the game and came through, and we got to spend some time with him. We talked about that game. I always think the great thing about Brad's story and probably that team story is how he did respond. And everybody knows Brad Banks, Player of the Year and runner-up to the Heisman, and obviously played really well all season long. But wasn't an easy path, and what you're referencing there, that third quarter especially, was really rough. And I share that story a lot with our players annually, just and that the essence of what Brad did that year, in my opinion, is I don't think anybody felt worse. Talk about investment. Nobody feels worse after a game in that case than him. But he went back to work. And Brad's pretty unflappable. That's one characteristic he really I think embodies. And 2 weeks later, we're in the very same situation. We got a big lead at Penn State, and all of a sudden that fourth quarter disappeared, and we're in overtime. And I would suggest a big part of the reason we won that game was Brad's performance in overtime. So, it's just the kind of one of those stories I cover annually with the team. And, that's the right idea. Like, that's what you're looking to do. And then the rest is history. Not that the whole season was smooth, but it was hard. So, those are things we talk about in camp. That's part of the curriculum, if you will. And just, during the season, you're going to encounter disappointments. And that's one of the more disappointing losses I've ever been involved with on a personal basis. But, life goes on. And it's what you do in response that really matters. Thanks, Scott.
I wanted to ask you about the run game where it looks like you're not necessarily running the same type of outside slant. It's more of a tighter slant. It's maybe more directed towards the tackle. And it also seems like your guards are able to kind of be tighter in the way they can get to the second level. Kind of how did that evolution take place? And so far, at least through two games, it seems to have some really good results.
Yeah, I mean, really, technically, there are a couple slants that we have. One is wider, to your point, and then one is a little tighter, to your point, and then also an inside zone scheme and a couple other things with it. But, the bottom line in what you saw Saturday, the way they play their defense, their interior guys really squeeze the line. So that's why, our guards are coming off the way they were on the linebackers. Against other teams, you may get guys that are playing deeper and coming over the top. So that kind of dictates what the guard's path is going to be. It's a tough defense to run against. I thought we did some really good things there and some good awareness by the guys involved in it. And but we don't have it figured out. I can promise if you were at today's practice, you'd see some things that need to get cleaned up. But a lot of it's dictated by, again, we do have a couple different calls there, but it's dictated about how the defense played, and they're really aggressive inside the tackle box. The Iowa State defense is.
There were a few instances, a few series where you brought him in to relieve McCann just as sort of a change of pace sort of guy. When you look at the QB situation this season, is there ever a situation where you're thinking that maybe Sullivan can be that change of pace, faster QB for somebody like McNamara?
Yeah, it was twofold with Brad. Part of it was he was a different kind of quarterback than Kyle. But we talked a lot about Kyle too, and big takeaway for me was Brad shared this with a couple other people, but he learned from Kyle, and there's a lot of good things that he brought up that day. Just watching how Kyle performed during the 2001 season, his takeaways from it, I thought they were really pretty astute. So there were two different guys, but our thinking was that Brad was a guy that we thought had a good future here the year later, and we were going to get him involved if possible weekly. But that was dictated by Brad's performance in practice. And, we'll keep an open mind to anything. Obviously, if it's going to help us win games now, that's first priority. And then secondly, if a player, we rotated other positions, it's a little tougher at quarterback, and it would take the right guy, but Brad certainly was the right guy.
John Sept, your efforts in that. First of all, kind of the inevitable injury question. Seems like it's just Sept and Jaden at this point that are still out.
Yeah, I think Jaden probably will miss this one, it looks like. Got a couple guys that are limited in practice right now, so hopefully they'll be ready by game time.
And would Sept be in that limited?
No, I don't see that happening this week. He's missed too much time.
And then with Caleb Johnson,
hopefully moving forward, though. Hopefully. Yeah.
With Caleb Johnson, kind of what's the biggest thing you've seen this year from him compared to last year?
I just think maturity and focus, you know, and it's like any player. You know, it's rare for a freshman to play a veteran guy, rare. But you know, he did a lot of good things the last 2 years. I just think he's really has a much better feel for what he's doing. He's a little bit more patient than he was, and he's running really strong. Obviously, had some really nice runs the other day. I thought his best runs were at the end of the game, where he ran strong and broke some tackles. And you know, there wasn't a lot there, but he was making yards. So to me, if he can keep integrating that into his style of play, it's really going to help us.
When Caleb's playing the way he is, and the O line is playing the way they are, like I guess from an X's and O's standpoint, what does that do for the passing game, and like what are kind of opportunities you're seeing that are opening up as a result of that?
Yeah, I mean those are areas we were hoping we'd be able to build off of because we were a little bit more veteran, certainly up front. And outside of Kamari, we're pretty veteran at the running back position, so and tight ends also. So I mean, you're hoping maybe you can get something established there. But you know, if we're going to play the way we want to play, we're going to have to pass the ball more effectively. You know, that certainly was a factor Saturday, and hopefully it's just something we'll keep getting better at as we move forward. And we've done some good things, done some things that weren't so good, and it's a little bit of everything. You know, accuracy, route running, things like that, and protection at times. So those are the things that we got to get pieced together. And again, just after practice today, there's still a lot to work on. There will be all season long.
Kirk, after the game, we talked to Jay Higgins, and he was one of the first people to say, you know what, like, pull the thumb. I could have done a better job on that play that was resulted in a touchdown. And I just think, talking about the 0-2 team, leadership was a big thing we heard about today when you pointed that out, that comparison to the team. How important is that type of leadership in this type of week where you're trying to just flip the page and turn things around?
Yeah, I mean, a couple points there. So I'll go back to Brad. Pretty much each and every year the last, I don't know how many. I'll show his quotes after that game, that specific game, and the way he talked about how he felt, how his teammates were feeling, and it was everybody taking accountability, whether it was Gallery, Clark, whomever it may be, Fred Russell, guys felt like, they were responsible. It was a team effort, not just one guy. So, that's a takeaway, and, you've seen it with Jack Campbell, now you're seeing it with Jay. And I would tie that into another lesson, just like I talked about before, with Brad learning from Kyle. I think certainly Jay has learned from Jack, and encourage all of our guys, if you want to be a good player, do what the guys on our team that are really good, do what they do, follow them. Those are the guys you want to watch, and try to model yourself after. And I've said this during the summertime, Jay's kind of like the anti-modern college day football player. He didn't run off when Jack was starting in front of him. He learned, kept working, and he learned from Jack. And I think it's really paid off for him last year, and it's paying off this year already.
Over the first couple games, we still haven't seen a lot of LaShawn Williams. Caleb and Kamari look like they're getting more carries than him. Is LaShawn still recovering, or is he fully healthy? Are we going to see more of him?
Yeah, I think he's healthy. That's the first thing I want to say is there was a run he made, not this week, but a week ago in practice, where he hit, got his foot down, and boy, he made a really nice cut, and it looked like, okay, I think he's back to where he should be, and hopefully I think he is. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, we've rotating 3 guys for the most part right now, and there's only so many carries. But, yeah, LaShawn, I'll go out on a limb and say he's going to really, do a good job for us this year. He's practicing well. I think he is healthy now, and, he's a well-rounded guy, so he'll play a lot for us, I'm sure. Yes, Scott.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Troy, Jared Parker. He took over at Purdue after I think it was after your game. You beat Darrell Hazel over there in 16. He's been at Notre Dame, and he takes over Troy, which won 11 games last year, was really good in just about every statistical category, and then lost like everybody.
Yeah.
Where do you draw from to look back? I mean, it's just the first 2 games. Do you look back at what he called at Notre Dame, or what he did at Purdue, or how do you try to figure out what they may do and do well?
I don't want to say it's 100%, but there's a lot of DNA with West Virginia stay, whether it be him and both coordinators were there for several years in West Virginia. So I guess that'd be one place. The special teams coordinator came from Akron, I believe. So, you're digging out film from previous places just to kind of see what they're thinking. And there's some similarities and all those types of things. And then we've got 2 game films at least, so it's way better than it would have been 2 weeks ago. But yeah, what you're referencing is just, it's a sign of the times in college football too, especially what Coach Parker had to, walk into. It's tough. A lot of guys, left and went to other places, and that's one of the challenges, I think, modern day challenges of coaching changes now. You're going to see more of that, and that's tough.
Kirk, about KCCI at Des Moines, we were talking about Hayden Large last night, and what a story he has, and the resiliency that he's had to endure and overcome what he went through. When you talk about the resiliency of your team, when you look at Hayden, just what impresses you? What is it like for you to watch his journey lead to this moment when he's playing powerful football after?
I missed the first part. You said Hayden Large?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Hayden's a great story. I'm still trying to figure out how he ended up in my office. A couple of Decembers ago, he and his dad, and I figured there had to be an Iowa tie because his name's Hayden, right? So I figured, okay, you must have family or whatever. They don't. They're from, over in Michigan, west side of Michigan. But just, there's a connection a little bit through some other sources or whatever, and showed up here. He's been a great guy since he's shown up here, and I'm not saying he's Zach Van Valkenburg, but or Stilianos, but comes from a smaller program. Just came in here and worked. He's got an unbelievable attitude, really good learner, and very versatile in his play. And I think he's taken a real big jump, and that'd be my comparison to Zach, because it's tough. He came in here, and there's a lot of guys, but he's worked hard physically. He's worked hard mentally, and he's a really versatile guy. Can play the tight end spot for us and back in the backfield a little bit too. So just a really good addition to our team and a really valuable team member.
Average Cody Hawkeye beaten. The 75-yard pass play that was referenced earlier. Cohen Entringer came in after that, played the rest of the game at strong safety, and he said a lot about how he's been practicing. Sort of walk us through where his situation is with strong safety right now, and where Xavier Wampler's status is.
Yeah, so Xavier's a good player, and so is Cohen. They're both good young players. I guess one's a little bit younger than the other, but the main difference is Cohen's missed a lot of time. Coming off that knee surgery, he recovered at record speed. I mean, it's amazing how fast everything went. Every step got there a little quicker than the quote unquote book would predict. But all that being said, he's playing catch up right now, and but we feel like we have a really good group of guys back there, and Lutmer would be the next guy in line. So I think we got 5 guys that are capable back there, and we'll let them keep working and keep competing, and see where it all goes. But feel good about the group, and it's just plays like that happen, unfortunately, and that's when it happens, you just got to learn from it and try to avert that in the future.
Tom Kicker,
Yep. Tom.
question about those goal line situations or inside the 5 with your running backs. Do you have a pre-planned, like Kamari's going to be in there, or Deshaun, or how do you operate that? Is it by feel or is it by plan?
By both, really. I mean, you go into it with a plan, and then also the feel of the game dictates how you do things as well. So, that's kind of how it goes. And I think the bigger issue, I mean, especially on that one play, we had penetration on the right side, and that was a hurtful play only because it was negative yardage. And so you got the ball down in there, and all of a sudden it's back on the 4 or 5 yard line. And just in offensive football in general, losing yards is a bad thing, but especially down there, it just changes the whole complexion of things. But we still had opportunities, and it was run and pass where we weren't good enough to cash in, and we're going to have to improve in that area if we expect to win games.
I guess you probably predict on the outside people are not happy about quarterback, but obviously you expressed some confidence after the game in Cade. So I'm just curious, we didn't get to talk to him today, but
Yep.
where is his how has have you seen him respond? I guess, and you still feel confident with him.
I do, yeah, I do, and I'll stay on the same page I've been on. I just think he needs to play, and he needs to learn from his experiences. The faster you learn, the better, obviously. But he's missed a lot of time, so I think he needs that. And it is a new offense for him. Probably whatever it'd be, his 3rd one in 3 years, something like that. So there's some learning going on there. But yeah, he can play better, and I think he will play better. And it's just a matter of working at it. There's nothing magic we can do. Maybe eliminate some things and lean this way or lean that way, that type of thing. But otherwise, just counting on him to play a little better, and we need to help him more at all positions.
He responded. My question was, has he responded pretty well this week? I guess.
Yeah, so far. Yeah, sure. We've been on the field twice, and yeah, so far so good.
margin for error is a lot smaller going forward. Like, balance that with the fact that, like we were saying, you also have to, you're trying to be patient with Cade. How do you balance those kind of two?
Yeah, I'll be real clear on this. I mean, we're trying to win every Saturday. So whatever Saturday it is, that's the number one goal. It's the number one goal. But there's a bigger picture too you're looking at and trying to factor in things like missed time, all those kinds of things, whether it was Cohen or Cade, whatever. And got a couple other guys that have missed time. LeSean mentioned him, where he's at right now. That slows the guy's progress down, certainly does, and it's a factor. So, and then you compare them to other players that are at the position and go through it. But ultimately, it's our responsibility to get the best guys out there to give us a chance to win every Saturday, and that'll always be number one. And then, keeping the bigger picture in mind too, and that's all about us improving in the areas like we just talked about. If we don't do a better job inside the 5, it's going to be tough to envision us having a good year if we can't score some touchdowns in there. So, and then, one was off a turnover. You got to take advantage of that. I mean, you get the ball, I think, on the 12, that possession. So those little things, those are the things that really can get you, or the big plays defensively. But there's a lot of things to consider, but we're trying to win each and every Saturday. This one's gone. Now we're on to the next one, and fully aware. I mean, we've got 10 opportunities left. We've got to make everyone count. Yep.
You mentioned Luke Elkin at Big Ten Media Days and at Media Day here in Iowa City. I'm curious, what does him being a veteran player in the special teams room do to help Reese get comfortable as a first-year player, and then Drew to regain his confidence this year?
Yeah, I mean, love to talk about Luke on Tuesdays, right? Because you don't want to talk about him on game day. That's a bad thing for a snapper. But yeah, he's been just so good ever since he showed up here. And LeVar targeted him in high school. Like he had come to camps, and LeVar really felt strongly about him, stronger than most guys. Not only because of his ability, but also his character and his steadiness. And he's just been great to work with. I mean, each and every day he does well in each and every phase. Good student, good in the weight room, the whole 9 yards. Everything he does is quality. So to have that in any room is important. You want to have those veterans in that room, any room that you're talking about in the specialist room. If you look at it, we lost Torrey, who's a really good performer. So you got a guy in Reese who's young and inexperienced. And then Drew, had a tough ending to the season last year. To have a stabilizer in there is really valuable. And that's part of building a team too, is having not only good players, but guys that can help, just kind of steady things a little bit. So in a week like this, okay, now what do we do? How do we react? Reese sure as hell doesn't know, right? I mean, with all due respect, but why would he? And then it's just those things are really valuable in a football team.
Scott again. You said kind of at the beginning that setbacks or responding to setbacks is kind of the message that you had this week. And when you look over the course of your career, that's probably maybe your greatest strength and what you've been able to do after, whether it's Penn State lost in 16 and come back to 16, or a couple years ago at Ohio State and coming back and winning 8 games, all the way back all the way to 02. What is the common element in your messaging all these years that's been able to enable your team to go forward and not worry about what just happened and just kind of and have some success?
Yeah, I mean, it's really pretty simple, and unfortunately, I got to live it. When you're a 1-10 record owner of a 1-10 record as a head coach, we always get associated with our records are 2-18. I mean, that's a rough way to start. So, at that point, you just believe in what you believe in. Not that you're always looking at what you believe in and trying to get better at it. And what do we need to adjust? What do we need to do? Where's the attention need to be? But ultimately, you got to, at some point, you got to believe in something, and you stick to your beliefs, and then you just try to do better at what you do believe in. And I think all of us in this building feel like we know what we need to do to be successful, and really, it's more about the doing. So it's being honest about what's in front of us, and what did we do? How do we learn from that? But I think the single biggest thing, and being in pro football probably helped me learn this better, is you got to move on. Like you just can't waste time looking backwards. You can on Sunday, that's fine. But when Monday morning comes, boy, you better be looking at the next opportunity, or you'll be behind your opponent. And that's, it's easier said than done. I can put it that way. one thing about when we switched our practice schedules back after the 14 season, the 15 year, it forces us now. We're on the field Monday morning, so we have to move on, and that's it's hard on the coaching staff Sunday to practice Monday, but the good news is like we're all moving on because there's no time to be, dwelling on things or, how we feel. Like, forget about that right now. Let's get going here on the next one. Yep.
Last question. John Sept, Cedar Rapids. Your first game on the sideline. Was curious your thoughts on the in-helmet communication, the sideline tablets, and any advantages or disadvantages that creates. Is you guys can make in-game adjustments, but also other teams can adjust to your defense.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a problem or two with the tablets, like a player or two off schedule or missing, but overall, no, it's a real positive. And the coach to player thing's a real positive too. So it's kind of what we expected based on practice, but yeah, I think it's all positive, and I don't have many suggestions in that way. We're just trying to figure out how to score a touchdown. We got the ball inside the 5. That's more important right now. So, okay. All righty, thank you guys.